We begin here in France. Former surgeon Joel Le Scouarnec has been found guilty. The 74-year-old given the maximum 20 years behind bars after he admitted to sexually assaulting or raping nearly 300 patients, mainly minors, while they were under anaesthesia or waking up from procedures. For more, we can go across to Liza Kaminov, who covered the trial for us. Lisa, what more can you tell us about the verdict?
Hi, Delano. So, as you said, he has been found guilty, sentenced to 20 years in prison. This is the maximum penalty under French law. Now, the security detention period, which the prosecution was demanding, was not actually given to him. However, he has been told that he must serve at least 2/3 of the 20-year prison sentence, and he must also spend 15 of these years receiving compulsory treatment. He's also been given a long list of conditions which he must meet. The first is not entering into contact with any of his victims. He's been given a permanent ban on the regions in France in which he had operated in. He must also not engage in any activity that would allow him to come in contact with minors. They've also said he's prohibited from owning any animals due to allegations of zoophilia, and he must also, of course, no longer practice medicine. Now, if these conditions are not respected, he's actually subject to 7 years in prison, additional years in prison. Now, Joel Le Scouarnec, which many say is France's most prolific known paedophile, had admitted to all charges of sexual assault and rape in court throughout the 3 months of the trial. However, today, as the verdict was pronounced, they recognized him guilty of 297 sexual assaults and rapes committed to 297 victims. However, for two victims, it remains unclear whether the assaults that Joel Le Scouarnec committed on them will have legal consequences. They are still trying to figure out what exactly the circumstances were. As for the victims and the civil parties, well, there is a lot of emotion here outside the courthouse. I haven't had time to speak to victims yet, but I'm seeing them pour out of the auditorium. They are starting to discuss and speak to other people. But just before the verdict, we did have the chance to speak to one person who said for them the main message here is to trigger a change, an institutional change, a societal change. Their biggest fear was that society does not ignite debate, does not actually break this taboo on child sexual abuse. And so for them, that was the whole point of this trial, to raise awareness of sexual violences committed in hospitals, and also to encourage just further debate and to encourage discussion about available treatments as well for predators who are suffering from these impulses, predators of sexual violences like paedophiles. So for the victims, for the ones I spoke to before the verdict, that was their main goal, is that this trial is not muted in society, that it really insinuates a further discussion, further dialogue. Of course, they had hoped that it would have garnered global attention, just like the Pellico case did last year. Unfortunately, from what we've seen over the last 3 months, it did not receive the attention that it deserved, despite some 500 journalists being accredited to follow the trial. But as the verdict brings some closure to these victims, the main task for them now is to continue this debate in society. They hope that it will spark a larger reckoning on child protection in France. Just a reminder, quite a striking figure in France, according to the Commission of Incest and Sexual Violences Against Children, every year some 160,000 children are victims of sexual abuse.
Lisa, thank you very much. Go get some reactions and we'll check in with you later. Liza Kaminov reporting.